Hey, what's going on? Thank you so much for watching. It would mean the world to us if you could just scroll down, like, hit the subscribe button for the Snaps YouTube channel. It goes a long way towards helping us out. Now, let's dive into some college football. Jim Harbaugh met with the Chargers yesterday. I'm kind of the mind that I thought these timings generally are like, with players at least, I know it's if you meet and leave, you're probably not going to sign there. That generally, like, you don't leave town if you're going to end up there. Might be different coaches. I'm surprised we haven't heard any more news on this quite yet. But Jim Harbaugh meeting with the Chargers yesterday. Again, where do we go if Jim Harbaugh leaves? And we're going to discuss some names. The Athletic has a good breakdown with some names. I still really can't get past Sherrone Moore.
Yep.
And if, I mean, look at this quote. It's in the article, but this is a quote from Trevor Keegan, one of their leaders, one of their O-linemen, a two-time Joe Moore winner. Quote, I was pretty close to leaving. The recruiting process is a dangerous thing. And he's talking about back in the day, right? Everybody tells you how good you are, that you'll start as a freshman. As an 18-year-old kid, I wasn't the most mature guy. I wasn't playing. I kind of stopped loving football. Coming into Schembechler Hall was a drag for me. Coach Moore came in and changed my whole outlook on life and football. He made me fall in love with football again. I cannot thank him enough. He's just a guy who puts his head down and works as well. He started here as a tight ends coach. Now he's an OC getting head coaching offers. Am I still here? Okay.
Yes, we still got you, T.
Okay. So whatever. That quote seems like it was a disaster technologically, but the point is everybody within the program seems to love Sherrone Moore. You saw him multiple games this season, including two of the most critical games, already play the role of head coach. And taking over a well-oiled machine has actually been working very well lately, right? Brian Kelly to Marcus Freeman, still got to be seen, but on the whole, Freeman's on the edge of a breakthrough, it feels. Urban Meyer to Ryan Day, unqualified success. Bowden to Fisher, national championship. Harbaugh to David Shaw, Stanford State good forever. Barry Alvarez to Bielema. Bob Stoops to Lincoln Riley. So, like, and there are some misses, but, like, there's a lot of school that says that this works. So,
how many of those two were guys that actually performed the duty ahead of time, not just like, hey, you're an assistant coach. Not many were actually given an opportunity to go out there and do. You just laid out the resume. Like we'll have to go back and look, but I don't think any one of those guys was an interim head coach that won 2 top 10 games in that season, that beat your arch rival, that beat a top 10 Penn State. So, like, you have shown that not only are you a Michigan man, that you've bettered that offense, but that you can perform as a head coach and go out there and execute. So I think that is even more to the resume and even more to the sense of, hey, let's just stay in house and keep a guy that our players love, that we love, that is great for our offense and also has proven that he can be a head coach. Going back to the whole scheduling thing that you talk about with, hey, he's met with an NFL team. If you leave, then probably not a good sign that he's going to be the next head coach. I would think the NFL time-wise is a little bit different than college football, because of college football, there's the portal and high school recruiting, all that. Like, there's a sense of urgency. I think a lot of the NFL teams are still waiting to see how the playoffs play out. Like, you may be trying to get an OCDC that makes it to the next round or the next round, or the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl, then you go interview that guy. Like, there's no real, to me, the NFL calendar is so much. This is why the NFL calendar is so much better than the college football calendar. And college football could do wonders by studying the NFL a little bit. I'm not saying like any of these decisions are rash. Not like saying that, like, Kalen DeBoer was a rash decision by Alabama to go get him from Washington.
Well, it kind of is, though, in a crazy way. Again, Greg Byrne had never spoken to him.
Yes, I agree.
And Nick Saban had never spoken to him. That's kind of wild to think about.
You would like to wine and dine a little bit more, and also be able to feel like, okay, we can interview a few coaches. We can give this a week or two. So I think the NFL timeline just gives these guys more opportunity to give it, 3-4 weeks to make a decision.
Some guy says OSU has a ton of Ohio State has a ton of talent coming back. They're going to be better than Michigan in 24. Probably still lose the SEC, though. We'll explore that a bit more when we talk about Ohio State, because I do want to get into that a bit. Here's my deal, though. In talking to Jake Butt, talking to Joshua Perry, who went to Ohio State, and just other guys in that region, they, under Jim Harbaugh, Michigan is kind of viewed a bit like Texas A&M in that they're a bit culty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what comes with a cult culture? And like, if you already have such a distinct culture and you have someone in Sherrone Moore who works within it and who everybody likes and who understands it and how to propagate it and how to continue it, why do you hit the reset button with anyone else? It just feels like you'd be asking for like if you want to hit reset button, give Sherrone Moore the chance. And if he fails, he fails. Then you can go out and you're Michigan. You'll still be able to get a big ass name, like whoever you really want. So I think they keep it in house. If they don't, how do you feel about? I'll just name I'll name the names that the Athletic has. Well, how do you feel about Lance Leipold out of Kansas?
I loved all the names on the list. I mean, my first name that I would go gravitate towards is Brian Kelly, though, at LSU. Like if Brian Kelly truly is a Midwestern man and he feels like that's where his roots are and that's where he fits in best and that's where he can recruit better.
From Connecticut.
But I think he coached in the Midwest.
Yeah,
for a while.
He did. Maybe,
yes. He mostly coached there, and obviously Notre Dame as well. It's kind of where he really built his brand at. Like that would be number one for me. And I know you probably like the other guys because they remind you a lot more of a Kalen DeBoer type coach who maybe like they haven't led a team to a playoff berth like he did this year, but came up from smaller schools, won championships at smaller schools, smaller divisions, and then have turned their relative programs. Kansas and
Brian Kelly did that too at Grand Valley State back in the day.
Yeah, he did.
Kelly, Leipold, and Kleeman are all guys that are self-made with lower level success that they've now parlayed into higher level success.
Yeah. So I would go Kelly 1, but that's how I think Kelly's a top 5 coach in college football. If you can get a top 5 coach in college football to come in and into your program, a guy that's been to a guy year 1 won the SEC West, a guy that's been to a national championship there at Notre Dame, a guy that's been to the playoffs. I think that's kind of hard to ignore if you could get him back to that part of the country.
It's so funny to watch this go down here locally in Baton Rouge because when these rumors initially broke, Matt House was still employed and everybody was kind of like, nah, okay. I mean, for me, I never really engaged with it because there's so many hypotheticals and it never felt realistic, right? But even then, people are like, if he leaves, whatever. But now it's like they fired House. They hired Bo Davis for $1.5 million. They hired Blake Baker for $2.5 million. They just hired Kevin Peoples from Mizzou, who's going to be their outside linebacker and edge rushing coach. He's supposedly one of the absolute best there. $700K for him. So they spin it right now. And then you get the commitment of Harlan Berry and Bryce Underwood, number 1 running back quarterback in that 2025 class. And all of a sudden it's like, well, BK, now hold on now. You better not leave. I still don't think it's realistic at all.
What's easier to win? I know you're going to say the fact that LSU has won their past 2 coaches have won national championships. And obviously the success early on for BK. Past three. But it still seems to me that the Big Ten is still an easier conference to dominate compared to what the SEC is. Like Michigan, like you could build Michigan, and I know it has been done, but Harbaugh finally got it to that spot right now where you're inheriting a program that's on the top of the mountain. You could keep Michigan on top of the mountain for a long time. Where LSU is ascending there and has a chance, but now you have to go through Texas and Oklahoma and Georgia and Alabama and Tennessee's rolled and Ole Miss, and I mean, it's a lot more. It's a lot more than just taking over Michigan and being one of the top 2 teams year in and year out.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what this new age Big Ten looks like, and this is a post-Saban era, of Alabama, so we'll see on that. But I probably would agree that it's easier to win at Michigan than LSU in terms of maybe fighting for conference championships. I think that's probably accurate. So Brian Kelly. I wonder how Michigan fans would feel about him. Lance Leipold. Now, I think Lance Leipold is staying put in Kansas. He said that in relation to the Washington job before Jed Fish.
Michigan's a different beast than Washington.
Though. No doubt. So maybe that changes. And I'm not naive, but he was the first choice in the Washington job. Ends up saying, no, I'm staying put. We all know about him, a guy with 63 national titles. Kansas had never won more than 3 games in 11 years, and he went 2-10, 6-7, now 9-4 with a top 25 finish and beating Oklahoma. Leipold will be the home run. Again, though, I just don't know why you bring him in. And then there's Chris Kleeman, who I'm guilty of. I did not realize he had 4 FCS titles in North Dakota State. And we all know what he's done at Kansas State, 10-4, Big 12 title, 9-4 this last year, really good bowl game finish, 2 consecutive top 20 finishes. So these are all guys that you know how to win championships. They know how to run programs. They're all solid candidates, but I don't see an angle for any of the outsiders over Sherrone Moore.
And I'll add this in too. I mean, when Nick Saban stepped down as the head coach of Alabama, he was a part of the decision making of who's going to be next. And we knew that Alabama was not going to hire from within. You know, Tommy Rees was not ready to step up and be the head coach of Alabama.
Kevin Steele.
Yeah, Kevin Steele. I think Kevin Steele retired before Nick Saban did, but Kevin Steele still was not going to be the guy.
I think Kevin Steele got retired by the decision makers in the middle of the season. Right?
Yeah,
was he no?
And he said too, like Nick Saban's the one calling the plays. But anyways, like Nick had his hand in essentially dubbing Kalen DeBoer as the next head coach of Alabama. I think Harbaugh is going to have the same kind of, not, I would say, similar power in discussions of, this is who I truly believe. This is the footprint. This is how I built Michigan from where they were to a national championship team. And, you know, I've been in the NFL. I know success. I've been to a Super Bowl. Like, they're going to take his opinion on this. And it's hard for me, for a guy that said after, because they tried out multiple coaches during the first time that Harbaugh was suspended. Come the second go around, he said, okay, I've seen all these other guys. I want Moore to be the guy for all 3 games that I'm suspended.
Well, and also
he believes in it. He's going to put in a huge recommendation for him, I believe.
Yes, I 100% believe that. I do think with those first 4 games, they were kind of fucking around too, though, with some of their coaching, who they were naming and whatnot, because they weren't playing anybody. But to your point, like, no, when shit mattered, it was Sherrone Moore, and absolutely he is going to put in. I guess it's just like, how does the Michigan administration feel about Jim Harbaugh is a very complicated question. Where they love all the success that he brings. I think they've had a lot of friction maybe with him on a personal level at times.
No, I agree. I will say this, like, I think this is a fun, obviously, conversation to see who is and who's not. But like, if Harbaugh retires, or if Harbaugh takes the LA Rams job in an hour, it would be hard for me to think that in the next day, 24 hours after that, Sherrone Moore would be named the head coach of Michigan.
I agree.
I think it's a done deal. I mean, it may even happen sooner than that. Like, remember when Monken left to go to Baltimore from Georgia? We thought, like, okay, maybe this will be Kirby's going to bring in all these guys. It may take a little bit of time. He named Bobo like within a day, I think. Like, it was like, I already knew this was going to happen. Bobo's ready. Let's go. I think the same thing at Michigan. Moore is going to be announced pretty much immediately.
And look at how awesome that worked out. I mean, Georgia fans love Mike Bobo. I think the same thing's going to happen for Moore. If News Jude says the change of perspective is crazy in football. Not too many years ago, everyone thought Harbaugh would be fired. Prisoners of moments reign supreme. You can frame it as prisoner of the moment, and I won't be mad about that. You know, what have you done for me lately? But ultimately, Nuge, that's the best part about football is it's a meritocracy. It is earned. Like, if you win, we praise you and you are beloved. When you lose, we do not. Why is Dabo Swinney not involved in any of these conversations? Because lately he's been losing more and more, regardless of whatever winning he once did. It's like, you know, what's the current form on the pitch, if you will? And so there's value in that. Like, you have to be a bit of a prisoner of the moment when evaluating these. Otherwise, you would hire Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
Because you'd look at his resume and say, oh, that's the best one.